Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day or going to have a great day. Make some beautiful gains. Your boy got took off the thingy-ma-booby, the tape or the Sandoderm or whatever, looking clean as fuck. So I'm glad I didn't end up going to the gym, even though I'm suffering severe withdrawals right now. I can't wait to get back at it again. Get back to those rest pause sets and those Widowmakers. I live for that shit. So, but today I did want to talk about or discuss aphorism 266 and the dawn of day, which is titled "Without Charm." And as I've been sorry, my apologies. As I've been reflecting on this little aphorism that I think this is basically a description of what he would later call, or what he would later connect with his description of the holy man. And this is one of his earlier works. So, those big ideas, his big contributions to philosophy have not been, formalized in their entirety yet, obviously. But as I, whatever, so we'll continue before I go off on a tangent here. So it is titled "Without Charm," and so I'm going to go ahead and read this quickly. Quote, "He lacks charm and knows it. Ah, how skillful he is in masking this defect. He does it by a strict virtue, gloomy looks, and acquired distrust of all men and of existence itself, by coarse jest, by contempt for a more refined manner of living, by pathos and pretensions, and by a cynical philosophy. Yeah, he has even developed into a character through the continual knowledge of his deficiency." End quote. This really does call to mind a monk, for example. And I guess it goes back into that original, analysis that through that resentment of being ostracized from society, and in that isolation, whether it be by your own free will or not, or you just don't lack the traits, like he's talking about, he lacks charm. Maybe he doesn't possess the right inherent traits that are necessary to make an impact in society, to be, exuberant, to have, leadership qualities as they look for, right? That those natural talents, as it were. And in that feeling of isolation, a lot of us can inwardly, and in turn, with given enough time, sanctify and make that isolation into something holy, as an ideal. The pessimism and the cynicism that you develop through your isolation of society becomes holy. He does it by a strict virtue, gloomy looks, and an acquired distrust. That resentment becomes something, everything becomes sanctified. Like he looks at the world as like full of sin, full of evil. People are not following the gods correctly and things of that nature. And being isolated is actually a good thing, because now you are pure. You are above above the rest of men, because you are not tainted by the corruption and evil of society. You are closer to the gods through your isolation, through your moving away from the rabble, as it were. And in that isolation, not being able to possess things, that also, being removed from material belongings, being removed from material, from any sort of ambitions or any sort of drives and desires. That's the whole thing with Buddhism, for example, right? Like, I'm obviously overgeneralizing the fuck out of such a complex thing, but it is, to reach the higher levels to nirvana is to eliminate all desires and wants, right? To stop wanting things, stop having things, and all of this becomes the basis of their power as well, right? Like, the fact that they don't even eat at times. These motherfuckers don't eat. They go on these I forgot. Fasting. They go fasting for like days on end. My apologies. I don't know why the word wasn't in my head, but when they go on fasting and they go crazy, they get epileptic and they start having all these moments and these little epiphanies in their most fragile, pitiful state. And I guess that really is the ultimate ideal, is pitifulness and meekness, and not be, and starving, pathetic, right? Like dying. The closer you are to death in such a emancipated way, gives you closer to God, instead of being full of power and full of youth and full of energy and strength. You can see just by the process itself, you can see where the ideal goes to. And it is a rejection of life and society itself, right? Like, you are pathetic, and your patheticness becomes something holy. And that's a question that draws on another question, and it's a question that Nietzsche has brought up sometimes as well, is how the fuck did the strong and the powerful succumb to this nonsense, right? Like, these men that should have that should have no business holding any power whatsoever, start bringing fear upon kings, right? Look at excommunication. Look at that I forgot the name of the edict that the Pope could draw upon, where he could do it. Like, it's basically an excommunication upon a whole city, and no one's allowed to do any church shit whatsoever in there. And it was like, what I'm saying, it's a big deal. But how were these holy men able to hold this sort of power over them? What I'm saying? Like, people, like Nietzsche has made that observation and asked that question. It's like, did they look at them and be like, like, how did you draw upon these conclusions? Like, what sort of mad person would do this for no reason? Like, there has to be a secret they're getting to, right? Like, what I'm saying? Like, why else would you be going down this road? That's a question that we need to be posing more often, and it doesn't even have to be religious. You can look at it with everybody. You have to really ask, where does this morality lead to? You know what I'm saying? You can look at the false promises, and you can look at the promises of Elysium and in the afterlife for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not just for the heroes and gods, but for the common man as well. And you really have to go beyond the pale of morality and deal with some conclusions that you're not going to be comfortable with. But you have to look at it and see, like, where does this lead to? What sort of person am I going to have to be in order to get to that ideal? And you look at a holy man, and a man that doesn't eat, emaciated, pathetic, pitiful, closer to God, and isolated from society, and isolated from all men, and just praying all the time. That's the ideal. It's like a complete isolation, even though this religion preaches for community. It's kind of a weird oxymoron going on there, but the wanting to relieve oneself of all values and not values, but material possessions. You know what I'm saying? The first thought came to my head was really a monk, to be honest. The person that lacks charm and makes that an ideal. I'm saying, not to have a person that be one in communion with God, to get rid of oneself's individuality, because individuality brings about pride, and pride is the original sin. And I'm saying, they always try to find a way to hide their defects and make them holy. It's a very I love how this guy is slowly making me look at things in a completely different way, very cynically, but it's amazing. But that'll be all for today. I'm going to go ahead and continue reading before I have to go to work. So thank you all for watching again. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. Hope I get you all to read this book one day, or if you haven't already, and if you have, I hope you have a great time. And until next time, love you all. Peace.